A schizophrenic, a dead girl, an abducted girl, and multiple roles as a murderer. Those were the roles I played last year. An exploration of character, which is distant from reality. That's what the arts allow. They allow our imagination to explore the happiest, but also the darkest scenarios actively. Similarly, in literature, we can sympathize with an ex-concentration camp guard, we can fall in love with the spider, or we can even learn to love an antagonist such as Claudius. Playing a role or reading a book, the individual is in control. However, when we dream, we are denied that control, that choice of selection, because I can either read How to Kill a Mockingbird or Lord of the Rings, and if I don't like the book, I can simply put it down. However, when I dream, I can't just wake up, even though that's exactly what I want to do. Since I was little, I had nightmares. I'm used to seeing someone being killed, me killing someone, and experiencing grief. It's like I live in two parallel worlds. I have to walk down the school corridor, thinking about maths, thinking about biology, what I'm going to wear in the morning, and how I'm going to manage my prep. But in the same time, I walk at night down exactly that same corridor, thinking about how I'm going to save my friend from dying, and whilst I simultaneously prevent myself from dying. One world is real, and the other one is not. Naturally, I was afraid, traumatized by what I experienced each night. But I always told myself that it's not real, and that it may scare me, but it cannot harm me. Hence, the fear may be irrational and even unreasonable. However, the memory of that dream was as real for me as the memory was of my daily life. So what do we know about dreams? We all have them each night, yet we know so little about them. You neurologists concern themselves with the what, with the why, and with the how. There are multiple explanations by philosophers, by spiritual interpreters, and by scientists. For example, Freud philosophizes that dreams mirror our unconscious. Others say that it's simple, our imagination, or a way to deal with our emotions during the day. That it's a way to explore what cannot be explored. However, others say that it's just non-sensual activities of the brain, and even others claim that it could be a reflection of a previous life. Famous authors such as Stephen King commented that nightmares exist outside of logic, and there's little fun to be had in explanations. They're antithetical to the poetry of fear. It's interesting that it says logic, because it suggests that there's no coherent, all-applicable answer, that it may be completely different for each time, and that it cannot be deduced simply by relying on different forms of reasons. R.M. Drake said that fear is the devil's greatest illusion. Again, commenting on something that we may not know for certain. Nightmares have been frequently depicted in the arts, such as in the works by Henry Fisley and William Blake. They try to pose a picture of what a nightmare looks like for everyone, but in the end, they all just give a personal interpretation. The way we experience dreams is different for each individual, leaving an experience, denying an explanation. I'm used to waking up not knowing whether what I just saw was real or whether it was just a dream. As absurd the scenario may seem in my dream, I still have that question when I wake up. I even tried to interpret my dreams once. I asked myself, what does it mean and why do I have these dreams? Flying allegedly means that nothing can hold me down. However, these interpretations never were sufficient. They were never sufficient enough for me because they didn't give me the answer I was looking for. So I realized that maybe it's not an answer I was looking for, but it was the way of the how. How do you deal with waking up screaming every night? I realized quickly that I had to myself from my dreams emotionally. Because otherwise, not only would I go insane, but I would also start wondering if I'm evil just because of what I did was evil in my dreams. Only recently did I actually begin to see the advantages of my nightmares in finding a similarity to the arts, more precisely, literature. Experience is not limited to reality, but rather can be explored unconsciously in a sub-reality. When people ask me about my dreams, I never really liked explaining, because I realized people only understand from their level of perception. As hard as they try, they may be able to understand, but on the other hand, they're completely oblivious. Similarly, in literature, one is confronted with non-real scenarios, be it a history class conforming to Nazi ideologies, in the way a duel between Voldemort and Harry Potter, or going on to the adventures with Alice. Often literature is provoking a response, enabling an exploration and a scenario which would not be able to be explored in reality. Each experience is exclusive. Even in drama there's a similarity. I was more than once asked, why do you always participate in such shocking plays? Why can't you play a nice play about flowers and fairies? Well, after talking to drama students, I realized that it's more interesting to play often the victim or the antagonist because it's so divergent from our lives, and also maybe your lives. But on the other hand, I talked to a friend and it highlighted that we get to explore part of ourselves. Yes, this may be in extreme scenarios, yet as a drama student, I actually do have to empathize with the character in order to give a good performance. Whilst I was playing a schizophrenic character, I did have to do a lot of research. I had to watch videos watching a schizophrenic's behavior. But that was only, my performance only became believable as soon as I connected it actually to basic emotions that I could see in that character, so that I could create a link between the two. So all of a sudden, you can exist in a different world, being a completely different person, with different circumstances, whilst you are still being yourself. So despite the unknown, we can conclude that dreams do pose different reality. The explanation of the significance may not be discovered yet, but it reinforces the importance of creating meaning to the individual. It's also applicable in literature where one does have more control. You still submerge into sub-realities using your imagination. You cannot escape your dreams, but maybe that's not the purpose of them. As discussed, they may give you the liberty to actually explore different worlds from different scenarios, and therefore you can include hindsight, you can reflect, and you can make it relevant, even though the story may be irrelevant. Because in the end, it is irrelevant if I've killed my best friend or if I've watched her die. It's what I felt in that moment and what I get out from that. Is it grief? Is it fear? How did I deal with it? And how would I deal with it in reality? Each dream may trigger development. All the talks we've heard today, to some extent, they focused on development, on change, on progress. That's what people strive for, because that's the only way we can evolve, that we can get better. Now imagine if you add to all the reasons that you get from your daily life, imagine if you add another dimension by using actually sub-realities, by referring to your dreams. May they be scary, may they be happy. The question of dreams is timeless and it's universal because we can all relate to it. The question is, what are you going to do out of it? Thank you.